Greetings and welcome back to Tales of Faith, a podcast on the narrative lectionary. I'm the Reverend AJ Ochart. My pronouns are he, him. Sorry for our paid subscribers. This is a little bit later than we have been trying to. We are in the process of moving, had some illnesses, so 404 episode not found for a little bit.
And I am Louise Ochart. My pronouns are she, her. This episode 404 is for the 15th Sunday.
16th, actually. 16th.
Hot off the presses. The 16th Sunday after Pentecost, September 28th, 2025. Though we are recording on September 19th. So if something major has happened between when we recorded and when you listen to it, obviously we cannot comment on it when we won't be addressing it. Also, on a personal note, we've been dealing with a few things, so my takes just might be a little more spicy than usual. Not gonna lie, I'm in a spicy mood today, so
okay. Awesome.
Just full disclosure.
Today we're talking about Exodus 2, verses 23 to 25, 3, verses 1 to 15, and 4, 10 to 17. We'll be using the New Revised Standard Version Updated Edition unless otherwise noted. So let's get started with the context.
It's all you.
So overall context, we are in the book of Exodus. So we have shifted from Genesis. So basically summing up the rest of the book of Genesis, we heard about Jacob, we heard about his 12 sons and one daughter. In some ways, he does not carry on some of the problems of picking his oldest son to be his favorite. He makes a completely different change or another different mistake by choosing one of the youngest sons to be his favorite. Everybody else hates him and throws him in a pit and sells him, enslaves him to send him off to Egypt to certain death. But Joseph there is blessed by God. The blessing of God continues on with him. And he, in fact, sort of becomes the image of God. He is eventually gets to the place where he is second in command of Egypt. He is an administrator during a huge famine that goes across the land. He is in a position to not only save Egypt, but also all of his brothers. And during the famine, he invites them all down along with Jacob to live in Egypt. So we end the book of Genesis with this sort of hooray. One of the descendants of Adam has successfully been the image of God. The descendants of Abraham are now getting pretty darn numerous. They, the name of Abraham is well regarded. They have a lot of riches. They have some land, but they are outside of that land, which creates a bit of tension. So the book of Exodus is set some 400 years later, and the descendants of Israel, Jacob is renamed Israel. I think we talked about that last week. Anyways,
a little bit.
And they have become numerous. They have remained in the land of Egypt. And a new Pharaoh comes to power who has no idea who this Joseph guy was. And he tries to figure out what to do with these people who are definitely not Egyptians. He's worried about them sort of taking over. And so there's this multi-step plan. He enslaves them and puts them to work, but they keep breeding. He tries to have them sort of secretly killed by midwives, but they do not participate in it. Then it is an outright sort of genocide where they kill all of the males that are born. One of those males is beautiful and his mother and father, who are both Levites, decide to defy the rules, and they keep him for 3 months. They are told that they have to, throw all of the males into the Nile River, and so his mother throws him into the Nile River in a basket that has been sealed with pitch. And he floats down the river. He is discovered by the daughter of the Pharaoh, and she adopts him, names him Moses, which in Hebrew sounds like the word to draw out. In Egyptian, it sounds like the name son, like my son. And he is raised in Pharaoh's house. At some point, it is unclear. He may likely have known he was a Hebrew the entire time. Certainly, Pharaoh's daughter knows exactly what's going on, and sort of she and Moses' mother sort of are in on the secret, and they carried this on. In most depictions, he finds out later in life because it's much more dramatic that way. But at some point, he finds out that he's a Hebrew. He's walking among the Hebrews, sees an old man being whipped by an Egyptian, and Moses kills the Egyptian, hides his body, thinks he's gotten away with it until some of the Hebrews make mention of it. The word gets back to Pharaoh, and Moses flees. Despite what the author of Hebrews says, he is in fact afraid for his life. He goes off to some kind of cousin people, the Midianites. These are descendants of Abraham's second wife, that lineage. And when we meet him, he has gotten married, and he is still in charge of his father-in-law's sheep, which is not a sort of not exactly upward mobility. And the Hebrew people continue to be enslaved in Egypt, and we'll see where that goes. So that's basically where we are. Did I miss anything important? You weren't paying attention.
No, I was.
She wasn't paying attention.
Then... No, it's pretty good summation. No, actually, I was gonna say the whole time, like after Moses comes out of the river, that has always baffled me, because everybody knows that the princess wasn't pregnant, and now she has a baby, and nobody's like, I wonder if that's an Israelite. Like,
well, yeah,
and Pharaoh's just like, yeah, that one's okay.
And I think there's this really interesting, and it kind of goes with the motif that we were talking about last week about Jacob and Rebecca kind of using the
power that they
have. Yeah. Is definitely part of what's going on. I think it seems to me that Pharaoh's daughter, well, first of all, she says, oh, it's a baby. This must be one of the Hebrews. Right? Because who else would willingly put their baby in a basket that floats down the...
But Pharaoh, unless he's an idiot, which, I mean, to be fair,
right?
Like, he has to know that that's a Hebrew as well.
Yeah.
Because why? But so why does he allow that one to live? It's always baffled me that.
And I think it's this sort of Pharaoh's daughter. It's this act of defiance. You want to kill all of these other Hebrew babies? I'm keeping this one. I can't save all of them, but I can save this one. And there's the whole thing where sort of Miriam, his Moses' sister, is watching from the reeds, and she sort of comes out and goes, "Oh, by the way, if you happen to need someone to nurse him, I might know somebody," right?
Yeah.
And it's all like wink, wink. We all know that's what's going on, and Pharaoh's daughter then pays the mother to take care of her child until he's weaned, so
Yeah, no, I mean, I see that, and I see it's God's providence and protection
yeah,
and all of that. It's just from a logical standpoint, it just it funny is not the right word because
yeah,
it's horrific. But Pharaoh just going, "Oh, okay, fine,"
right,
you know, really?
yeah,
I just that part of the story has always been a little bit, I don't know, just
yeah,
strange, just interesting.
yeah. And I yeah, again, I think I have come to see it more as this sort of act of defiance, very similar to the midwives beforehand,
Right.
which is again really interesting that this that all happens in chapter 1 um, of Exodus, and throughout that story, it is a story of a ostensibly powerful man, the Pharaoh, who is not named and is constantly being defied by these people who are all over the place, and
Right. I mean,
specifically
literally
these
everybody.
women's these yeah, and specifically these women. A couple of them are the midwives are specifically named where Pharaoh is not, and then these other the Moses's mother who is not named in the text, and the daughter who's also not named, but still they sort of in defiance are able to save him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I see all that. I still think that it's interesting
Yeah,
that,
it
like,
is.
you know, this one, he's just like, okay, I guess one's fine,
Yeah, pretty
you know.
much.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
first.
Yeah. So we'll go on to the text section 1, Exodus chapter 2, verses 23 to 25. Are you there, God? It's me, Miriam. So after a long time, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned under their slavery and cried out. Their cry for help rose up to God from their slavery. God heard their groaning, and God remembered their covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God looked upon the Israelites, and God took notice of them. Um, so here we've had all of the story of Moses fleeing and him getting married and having children and that sort of thing. And we have this little, I don't know, aside about sort of meanwhile back in Egypt, things are not better.
Right.
People are still crying out to God for justice. Um, and this cry for help rises to God. And God heard their groaning, which is an interesting, when we see this in especially the Hebrew scriptures, this when God hears um, is not to imply that God did not hear before, but it's very much this sort of hearing with now the intent to take action, to do something about it.
Yeah.
And there's another, oh, and God remembered the covenant. Um, so this is sort of a call to action. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's both comforting
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and also a little bit not,
Mm-hmm.
because it's comforting to remind us that, God hears us.
Mm-hmm.
God hears our groanings, but also what took so long? You know? Um,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there are times when you can look at the human population, or you can look at um, different events and see hate to break it to you guys, but you kind of brought this on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all made some real poor choices. But in this case, that's not what happened, right? I mean,
Well, I think.
because we're looking at a people who followed Joseph, and then, I mean, I suppose they didn't go back to the promised land. They
Yeah,
stayed,
I think that's sort of the
but they
implied.
stayed where they were comfortable initially, and in that comfort, they stayed because it was easy and comfortable, and they stayed past when they were called to.
Yeah,
I could see that.
that and the setup in Genesis that is then sort of flipped on its head. There's another word for that. Is that Egypt up to this point has been this place of death and this place of evil, and this is not a good place to be. And miraculously it becomes this place of salvation, which is great. But yeah, there is sort of that idea of they overstayed.
Right.
When the famine was over, they probably should have headed on back to Canaan, reestablished their being.
She's ripping up something.
Yeah, she's eating cardboard. Go do that. Reestablish them being established in that land. I think that's part of what we're to glean from reading these two together.
Yeah.
And it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, and to be clear, I'm not saying, oh, they deserved it. Like, that's not. I don't think that's ever the case, and I don't think God is punishing them or anything like that. It's just, yeah. I find it both comforting to remember that God is there and hears our groaning, but also why. Also, a reminder that we do not understand why. And that there is evil in this world and there's bad and it just exists, and that is not necessarily God's doing or providence or testing or anything else. It just is. And yet it continues to beg the question why. And I think that is just a constant struggle as Christians, is how do we answer that why?
Yeah.
How do we answer the why didn't God question? And I don't think we can.
No.
Because we're not God and we don't understand. And there are simply times when we are not going to understand. And so perhaps part of it is just that we need to recognize that our broken hearts, and we need to actually have that empathy, and we need to have that broken heart over the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an overall overarching question that never gets answered.
No.
But it is one that it's one that I've always sort of had with this story of why we let babies die. How did we let babies die?
Yep.
How did we get here? And why now are you hearing our groaning when not before? Not blaming, just that deep sadness of not being able to understand and not, I don't know.
Yeah.
And yet the comfort of knowing that he, even in not acting, he still hears us.
Right.
He's still with us. And sometimes that is the lesson. That in the pain and the suffering and the sadness, it's enough that God is there. And that's the call, is to just live into God more, to live into the Spirit, to live into the peace, even in the midst of the tragedy. I don't know. Sorry, I got super deep for like 3 verses. No. That probably isn't really.
Well, no. And I think I think that dramatic tension is intentional in the
Right.
story.
Yeah.
Um, and this is very much a theme throughout Hebrew scripture of it's it just sucks
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, there are so often times when we can see what the choices that led to the reasons,
Hmm.
right? And again, not saying that somebody deserves it, but you
Hmm.
can see the choice. Okay, we wanted a king. Well, now we've got a bunch of bad kings.
Right.
Um, we were headed towards the promised land. We decided to build golden calves. Now we got to run around for 40 years because we didn't trust God. Like
Right.
you can see what led them off the path.
Hmm.
But here we're talking about literal innocent babies.
Hmm. Yeah. And part of it is also
I mean, here we're past the
perhaps,
babies, but
yeah, yeah, perhaps it is comforting, or perhaps it is not. Um, but to recognize that it seems that the story of Exodus is a, a literary device.
mm-hmm.
Um, it is a good story, maybe very, very, very loosely based on
Right.
some things that had happened, but part of it is a post exile, and I think that's important as well. It is a story being told by this generation who has come back from the exile about these far distant ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what they're struggling with is, why did this thing that we just experienced, why did that happen? Um, and it leads up to this whole story that leads up to the exile, saying things like, we shouldn't have had a king. We had a king anyways. The kings were lacked righteousness, and therefore led the entire kingdom astray. Um, so part of they're telling this story of their history, reevaluating and recognizing how we didn't do great. Like we messed up in this, and going all the way back to this idea of another time when we were taken off to an evil kingdom, and were there much longer than we thought we should be. Um, and God redeemed, right?
Right.
It so
Yeah, and I mean, yes, and this is a story of hope, and it is a
yeah.
story of perseverance, and it is a story of trust, and it is a story of God's provision and taking care of and all of that. Um, but just to recognize that even in all of those things, the pain and the sadness
Mhm.
of the events are not necessarily lessened
Right.
by the outcome,
Mhm.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, and so again, those questions for me have always and will always resonate.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Because part of it, what it's doing is exploring why why is it that God hears sometimes and God doesn't hear other
Yeah.
times? And maybe
And he does hear all the time,
yeah, yeah, right.
but
Yeah,
why
but
is that hearing, that acting?
yeah,
Yeah.
hearing to acting.
Yeah. So
Um and more broadly, the poetic writings sort of reflect on this more directly. Um, and the way that it's structured, the sort of final answer to it is the book of Job, which is all about seemingly just
yeah, don't get me started on
meaningless,
Job.
yeah, just meaningless suffering. And and the answer given by God in that story is, all of this is above your pay grade. Like you don't have enough information to know what's going on, which is not particularly satisfying.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of a crap answer.
Yeah. but ultimately it's a story grappling with the same
Question.
of like,
Yeah, and
why?
I think that's why that
Yeah.
story exists, is to
Yeah.
remind us
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
from time immemorial we've been. Sorry, my dog just did something real weird.
And yet again, it's not about why it's not a story about something terrible that happened. It's a story to explore why generally terrible things happen.
mhm.
And there's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah, and this
But
is a story that reminds us that terrible things do happen,
Yeah.
but God is with us
Right.
and will take care of us and will lead us out.
Mhm.
All that. So
Yeah.
just like I said, a little spicy today.
And it's going to be complicated. Yeah. No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Spicy is good. Anything else on that first bit?
Remembers his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And this is we have not talked about covenant a huge amount in this this year of narrative lectionary.
it is interesting to me that it is always only covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Uh-huh.
We don't get anybody after that.
Right.
Right.
Well,
I mean, not in the like when it is referred to, it is referred to this way almost always from here on out. So like, yes, it's implied that
not I mean, because we're also leading up to the covenant at Sinai, which becomes that's the
right, but
covenant.
Between then and now,
Yeah,
we've had a lot of generations.
Right.
Like Joseph doesn't get included here. It's not the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then Jacob's 12 sons, or even the three that are good, or the two, or the one, I just find it interesting that God was like, you three, cool. I don't need to get into the rest of you guys.
Yeah.
Or just for brevity's sake, I'm sure, but it's
Right.
Again, just kind of.
Well, and also in the text, so there is a very clear true covenant that God makes with Abraham. Yeah, it was Abram at the time, I believe.
Yeah.
There is what we read last week, this we could probably say it's a covenant that God makes with Jacob.
I just think it's interesting that after that,
there's no account of a covenant with Isaac.
True.
We just sort of gloss over that bit.
Yeah, I mean, they almost burned Isaac at the stake. I think Isaac's like, I'm good. I don't really want to get into more of this.
Yeah.
Isaac's like, I've had enough trauma. But I think that's interesting that we don't actually get any mention of any other direct covenants with God between his people.
In fact, even like in the Joseph cycle, there's no dialogue between Joseph and God.
Yeah.
God is just sort of implied in the story and seen to be at work behind.
Even in the dreams, I guess he just has.
He has dreams that
and he can interpret them. Yeah. Yeah,
and
I
he
just
talks
find that interesting.
About God, that like, oh yes, I have the ability to interpret dreams because of the God who has sent them. But there's not that sort of.
Yeah, it sort of follows along the same lines of with my father's God or your God, or that we've gotten away from this personal contact with God. And perhaps that is also part of the problem that this generation is experiencing, because as we know, they do not have a great amount of faith later on. We get scared at literally everything.
And so if this was a historical account and they've been there for 400 years, you would imagine sure, maybe they remember that there was a god of these particular ancestors, but
Yeah.
they're probably worshiping Nut and Ra and the Egyptian gods. Um, and there's a certain amount of the strikes or the plagues. The first several of them,
They're
it,
not great for the Israelites either.
right, they affect the Hebrews.
Yeah.
And part of it seems to be God is saying, like, I'm going to tell the Egyptians and Pharaoh who I am, but I'm also going to remind these people,
Right.
hey, remember me? Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyways, that's a lot for 3 scriptures.
that's fine. It's a,
It's not a dense passage.
it is. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. And it lays sort of the groundwork
Yeah.
of what comes next.
Yeah.
So,
All right, section 2, Exodus 3, 1-7. Suddenly, nothing happened. Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led his flock beyond the wilderness and came to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of a bush. He looked, and the bush was ablaze, yet it was not consumed. Then Moses said, I must turn aside and look at this great sight and see why the bush is not burned up. When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Then God said, Come no closer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. He said further, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. And just a note, 3.1, Hebrew reads, to the mountain of God, to Horeb.
Yeah, so I called this Suddenly Nothing Happens because um, it's it's interesting that the burning bush is actually it's like the most boring miracle ever.
Because the bush doesn't get burned up and nothing.
It's just that there happens to be a bush, and oh, by the way, it's not consumed, which is not one of those, like,
Right.
in the desert, you're sitting around, you're watching sheep. It is not inconceivable that a bush catches on fire. That happens like all the time. It's weird that it's burning and yet is not consumed. But think about how long it takes to realize that that's a thing.
He was just sitting there looking at it.
Right. He's been watching it for hours. He's spacing out. I mean, watching sheep is boring. Again, he is watching the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, which means he doesn't have his own flock.
Mm-hmm.
He is now an 80-year-old man who does not have his own material assets. So yeah, he's not a.
I mean, he was raised in a palace.
Yeah.
And now we're watching our father-in-law's sheep.
Yeah, yeah. So he's out there long enough that he realizes that there's a bush that has caught on fire and it burns longer than it should.
Right.
And so, again, maybe out of sheer boredom, like, let me go check it out. Let me go see what's going on, right? And investigate. The thing that is not like neon lights saying, hey, Moses, it's me, God, come over here and pay attention. It's this subtle sort of thing that it's there, but it takes some sort of care to notice what's going on, which is a very different take than we usually.
Right. Yeah, the normal take is, oh my God, it's a bush on.
Oh my gosh, it's a burning bush. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of a it's a very kind of boring sign.
I don't know what interesting sign you can have in the desert though. Like
That's true.
water just hanging. Like I don't know.
Pink sheep, you know, like
Chicken jockey. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would think it was boring, but I think that's an interesting take on it. Um, and if that's the take, then also there's something kind of meditative happening.
hmm
Um, and something very what's the word I'm looking for? If it is not a huge sign,
hmm
then yeah, I guess out of boredom you investigate. I don't know. There's something else there that I'm not quite putting my finger
there's
on.
maybe some curiosity.
Yeah.
There's some but there's a certain amount of sort of care
Yeah, I guess that's yeah.
to it.
Yes.
It's not, I wonder if it's not a sign that everyone would notice. It's a one that Moses notices because he's sitting with sheep. He's sitting in the same place. He's watching animals.
Hmm.
He's enough sort of, I guess, sort of communing
Yeah, that's
with
what I was saying. Like
nature
if
in
that's
such
the
a way that,
take, then there's then it's
yeah,
meditative.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's quiet
right,
reflection
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
It's
causes
right.
yeah, that causes the action. And that is a very different, interesting take. And it's also an interesting take on Moses.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I suppose at 80 years old, if you're just watching sheep, then yeah, you're probably just chilling.
Yeah.
But
Now he eventually lives into like 150 somewhere in there. So
we're only really
he's
at
middle aged.
midlife.
Yeah, he's middle aged right now, but
um,
still, he's been around for a while.
yeah. Um,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's what I see in it, but I
mhm,
think that's an interesting thought. Um, I think I still see the, or perhaps I just want to see the power and the
mhm,
majesty in that, and almost the beauty.
mhm.
Um,
And it may be there, like when he gets closer.
yeah,
Um, but it's sort of, it does seem to start with, it starts with a huh instead of a whoa,
yeah,
right? It's
interesting. It starts with a
oh
question instead of a.
yeah, let me turn aside. Let me go check this out. Um, yeah, maybe it's not boredom, but it is. Let me check it out.
Scratch. That hurts.
And when he gets there, the Lord sees that he's there and calls to him in the bush, out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he says, "Here I am," which we might recognize from our last story of this same sort
Yeah,
of Abraham, Abraham, here I am. Or not last story, the story
yeah.
before that.
But and Jacob has that same reply.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
And then we have this, we hear it a lot. This sort of come no closer, remove the sandals from your feet. The place on which you are standing is holy ground. Um, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hides his face because he's afraid to look at God, which is this theme that we have, especially in Exodus, of not wanting to look at God. But again, we have the sort of call back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Um, but also this, it's present, right? I am the God of your father, the
Mhm.
God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. Jesus later pulls this quote
Yeah.
um, in saying that God is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living, because to God all are alive.
Mm-hmm.
It does call to mind this sort of relationship that God has and has had with these particular people
Yeah.
who are not just ancestors, but they're also these sort of um,
Pivotal.
they're pivotal, and you know, this is the God of Abraham, the God who called him from his home to a new land. Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. This sort of God of relationship, God of and of ancestor, especially in a culture where ancestors and especially important ones were highly revered. Like this is I know who I am because of who I come
Come
from.
from.
Um, I am a descent. You know, there's a reason they call themselves Israelites because we are descendants from Israel. We are children of Abraham because we come from this person. And not only genetically we come from them, but we have inherited from them, you know, a faith of God and our understanding of the universe and all of those sorts of things.
And a reminder that that is who to Moses, perhaps a reminder that that is who he is, that is his heritage, that is his ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the last 400 years, have we forgotten? Do we not remember the covenant that I made? Do we not remember that I have and will and do take care of you and they are my people?
Yeah.
Just a reminder of who and whose you are,
Mm-hmm.
who you are and whose you are.
Nice. Um, and and maybe especially for Moses, right?
Yeah,
So if
yeah, because
the
we
rest
also
of
don't
the
assume that Moses has had some identity
oh,
crises.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. If the rest of the Hebrews have maybe sort of put, you know, the God of their ancestors on the back burner, certainly Moses has. Um, and it's unclear. So Jethro is a priest of Midian, which it's one of those, and we get this in biblical stuff a lot. Right? It's not inconceivable that he is a priest of the God of Abraham, his
right,
descendant, but it's also not unlikely that he is you know, some other priest. He serves that role, but it may be a different God. Um, and so even in, you know, again in the movies, it makes a lot of sense that Moses sort of re-understands his culture
right.
through this relationship, um, but that may not be the case either. So the sort of faith in the God of Abraham may not be reinforced where he is. Part of it is this. I'm just making this connection right now. Um, so much of the Deuteronomic histories, in particular, are about the sort of the locality of God, presencing of God. This is the whole point of uh, building the Ark of the Covenant. Is
Right.
it's this sort of like
Place for
tiny
God.
temple that actually can move with you, but then where it is, that's where God's presence literally is.
Right.
Um, and then build a tabernacle around that, and then depending on the interpretation, sort of almost going backwards in development, because now we have, when you build a temple that is this, we stick God in this place
Hmm.
and God doesn't move.
Right.
But here God is sort of claiming their own temple. God is saying,
And it's simple.
right,
It's a bush.
it's a
It's not
bush
even a
that's
tree. It's just a bush.
yeah,
It's just a bush in the desert.
yeah,
It's probably not big. It's probably not beautiful. It's just a bush in the desert.
yeah. God's presence is in this place.
Yeah.
Um,
And that makes it holy.
yeah.
But then that also begs the question, and this is a whole nother not question, but that the reminder that God is all around.
Mm-hmm.
God is here. He's here. He's there. He's there. Um, that God is all around. And so all of this is sacred ground.
Yeah.
The whole world is sacred, and yet
Mm-hmm.
we do not treat it thus. We want to
Yeah.
treat the church as sacred.
Mm-hmm.
That has become our sacred cow.
Yeah.
That has become, this is holy ground.
Yeah.
We often talk about the church as holy ground. In reality, it is no holier than any other ground. And we have forgotten to treat the rest of the world as holy ground.
Yeah. And partially that's where this story is going. So like you get to Ezekiel, who burned some bushes, I think.
Right.
Like he had some wild stuff, and there's this whole thing about God's throne having wheels within wheels and all these sorts of stuff. And the whole point of it is like, no, no, no. God is not stuck in one place.
Right.
God is on the move. God is mobile. God, and in fact, God has left that big building that you made and thought you had bound them in, so that when the temple is destroyed, God had
Yeah.
been hanging out on Mount of Olives saying, "All right, figured stuff out. Nope. All right, I'll be back." So, um, but yeah, that God, yeah, any place can be this home. We also have this Mount Horeb is the mountain of God, um, and you have this interesting um, again, the scriptures that we have are sort of a jumbling of a couple different sources. And so Horeb is one of those. There, there is the mountain of God, and according to some, it's Horeb, and according to another tradition, it's Sinai.
Right.
And it's sort of this weird, and it sort of flip flops even in this story. God is speaking at Horeb, saying, "You'll come back to this mountain," and they come back to that mountain, and now it's called Sinai. So yeah, we're blending different traditions. We'll see Horeb again in a few month or so with Elijah. So
All
okay. Section 3, Exodus 3, 7-12. Why me?
You gotta say it real whiny.
Why me?
Oh, Anna.
Then the Lord said, I have observed the misery of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry on account of their taskmasters. Indeed, I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them from the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the country of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And I intentionally didn't give you this so you didn't have to say those names.
Yes.
The cry of the Israelites has now come to me. I have also seen how the Egyptians oppress them. Now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" God said, "I will be with you, and this shall be the sign for you that it is I who sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." So again, we have God noting that I have observed the misery of my people, heard the cry of their taskmasters on account of their taskmasters, and I know their suffering. Um, which I feel like is an intensification of what we had before. It's not just, hey, I heard about it. It is an attentiveness, and it is um, an identification. Like I have experienced this. I know their sufferings. I'm sort of intimately involved in this, um, which is interesting as we sort of going back to what we were talking about before. Uh, God who doesn't always just save us from troubles, but is with us in
Right. Is
suffering.
in that suffering.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this. I think I don't. He said, "I will be with you,
Mhm.
and this shall be the sign for you that it is I who sent you." What's the sign? Burning bush is the sign.
Yeah. Colon. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God in this mountain.
That's the sign. The sign is that you made it.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking because I was like, I feel like I'm missing something.
The sign that you will be able to do this thing
Is that you will have done it.
Have done it. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Okay, well, to be fair, I use that logic a lot.
Yeah, right.
When's lunch? You'll lunch when I tell you to get your lunch back. You know?
Right, exactly. I heard a great interpretation that so this is more of a oh, what is it called? Sort of God is growing and learning how to deal with these people in this, right? So the what we read last week was God says to Jacob, "I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you as you go out of this land, and I'm going to bless you, and I'm going to bless those who bless you, and I'm going to curse those who curse you." All that sort of stuff, right? And Jacob says, I need some proof. So when I come back to this land, then I will know that you were with me, and then I will worship you. So now God is going, all right, I know how you humans work.
You guys think.
I will give you the proof. Here's the thing. You will come back to this place. And when you come back, you will know that I am with you, and then you can do the thing.
Yeah.
And for Moses, that's not enough.
Moses
For
like,
Jacob, that was enough, but not for
need
Moses. Yeah, I'm going to need some more.
I need some more. More information. Tables.
Right.
It's interesting. That's like Moses says, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" Well, buddy, you're the one who lived with Pharaoh for a long time.
Right.
Like,
You're
literally the best choice I got here right now. What who am I?
Yeah,
you're the guy that was Pharaoh's daughter for a while. Why do you think I'm sending you?
Right. And yet,
and of course we have the whole, but I murdered somebody.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't actually say that, but it's
right, but like it's kind of implied. But also, like, Moses is playing a little dumb. What, me?
Yeah.
Why would you send me? Why could I send your father-in-law?
Right. But that's so human.
Yeah.
And we go, like, all of these skills and abilities that you have given me that are perfect for this situation,
You want me to use them?
but can't somebody else? Yeah. Right.
But I don't want.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that seems like a lot of work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. This is,
Yes.
you know,
I mean, if we ever see ourselves as Moses, this is the time.
oh, absolutely.
Like, I'm bored in the desert. I see a bush. I'm like, hours. Wow, that's pretty cool. Oh, but no thanks.
Yeah.
I'm good. Don't really want to do
A
miracles.
sacred mission from God? No, I got
Sheep.
important sheep stuff to do. And like, again, back to Moses' ambition is not high.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
he's just cruising.
Yeah.
Um,
But again, to be fair, like you were the daughter of Pharaoh, you're pretty high up, and
right. Yeah.
now you're living in your mom's tent. Like,
Yeah, right.
you're living in your father-in-law's basement. That makes
Pretty
sense.
much.
Um,
Just to put a pin in and recognize, so part of this call is to, I'm gonna give you this huge land. It's wide and it's flowing with milk and honey. Oh, and by the way,
there's
there are a
people
bunch of people there. That's going to be an issue for you, but we'll
That's an
get to
issue
there.
for a future year.
Yeah, exactly. Let's work on getting the people out of the
Yeah.
country first. Um, and a lot of um, so again, some of the research suggests and including sort of like genetic genetic research as well as sort of cultural research is to say that the nations of Israel and Judah are Canaanite nations. Like
Mhm.
this is where they come from. But so much of the story is about we're not from here. We're from yeah, like all of you Canaanites, you're horrible. We're from we came from Haran, and then sure, we were in Canaan for a while, and we went to Egypt, and then we came back to Canaan, but we're definitely not one of those. Um, yep. And now we go to the next one. Did I give myself
You
two in
gave
a
yourself
row?
that one,
Yep,
so
that should be you again.
probably. In fact, you gave yourself all the rest of them.
No, I just didn't I didn't change the so.
All right, section 4, Exodus. I am. But Moses said to God, if I come to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, and they ask, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. He said further, thus you shall say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, thus you shall say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my title for all generations. These asides, notes.
I'll talk. I'll talk about them as we're talking. Um, yeah. So his first attempt to get out is, who am I? God says, well, you're perfect. Okay, well, how do I know you'll be with me? Because I will be with you and you'll get back here.
Because you're going to get done.
Okay, but hey, I don't even know your name, guy. Random God who's talking to me from a bush, who is apparently associated with my ancestors. Um, you don't have a name. What do I tell them? And in fact, sort of part of the Yahwist tradition is what we call it. Um, this name that is given, um, which one of the notes is Lord written in all caps, though it didn't copy and paste in our thing like that, is a stand-in for the Tetragrammaton, the divine name of God, uh, YHWH, Yahweh is a transliteration of it. Jehovah is a not as good transliteration of it. Um, but this is sort of what tetragrammaton. That's what it's called.
Point that literally, I bet you almost no one who's listening to this has ever heard that word before.
Well, like other people who've gone to seminary, you probably
Right.
know. Yeah.
Well, okay, I suppose that is true, but still.
Yeah.
Don't use that one in your sermon. You gotta explain it.
No. Yeah. I would suggest not using tetragrammaton unless you fully explain.
Because it sounds a lot like the Necronomicon.
This is the divine name of God, right?
Wait, but what is a
Tetragrammaton.
Yeah.
It
What's the definition of that word?
it has to do with
Just using words?
No, that's the word that it's called.
Well, I know, but what's the definition of the word? 'Cause I've never heard it before.
Tetra. It's the 4-letter name.
So it basically only used in this context.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Yavhe Vavhe. It's linked to Hayeh, which is a form of to be. So it's connected to it. The longer version is I am that I am. To be is to be. And what's really wild, and this is the other note, is so Hebrew doesn't have the like past tense,
Right.
present tense, future tense, the way that some other language, including English, does. It's more about sort of completed action and not completed action. Um, but the way this is sort of a kind of or perfect form of the word to be. So it could in English be translated I was who I was. It could be I am who I am. Could be I will be who I will be.
Right.
And you could mix those all up as well.
Right.
That like I was who I will be, and it's all of these sort of things sort of tied up, and so this
omnipresence. It is literally
omnipresence.
Right. Yeah.
And that's so interesting as an answer to a question of what is your name? And the answer is I exist, right? Like I am the one who this is sort of ground of all being sort of theology comes from this, that God is the uncreated one, the one who, again, back to the beginning of this, brings is the wind over the chaotic desert depths that brings order into being, the one who pre-existed that stuff. And so the answer is I'm the one who is. I exist. And then this sort of shortened version of it, it's you get Yavhe Vavhe. And the reason it's tetragrammaton, the four letter name, is that even when like that's all that we know. So until I think the 3rd century, there were no vowels in Hebrew. It was just consonants. But then people started dying out who actually knew how to pronounce these things. If you know how to pronounce it, you can read all consonants, no problem. In fact, I would much prefer it because vowels mess me up all the time. But
it's a good thing my name only has a few of those.
Your name has all of them. It took me so long. But
sorry.
No, that's fine. But when they put in the vowel pointings, they did not at that point. It was you did not say the name. You don't say the name of God.
Right.
So when you modern Jewish people, when you are going through the text and you're reading through, when you get to the divine name of God, you say Adonai, which is Lord. And in fact, there are vowel pointings that are put in the divine name, but it's the vowel pointings from Adonai, not from whatever it was originally. Does that make sense? Kind of.
A little bit.
Okay. Um, so yeah, so the Jewish people do not speak this name. And so this is one of the reasons why it's right in English text it is written as all capitals Lord, reflecting sort of this is something different, but it's also connected to this the Hebrew word Adonai for Lord, sort of master, one who is above me. It gets a little bit funny when you get, like Psalm 8 is, O Lord, our Lord. O divine name, our sovereign. How, like, how majestic is your name?
Yeah.
Um,
It also strikes me as just so very parental here.
mm,
It's almost because I said so. Because I'm the mom
right.
and I told you to do it. Oh, you need more?
It's the,
Really?
it's the ultimate.
Okay. Well, I can
Because
give
I'm
you some more.
yeah.
It does sort of read like tired mom going, okay, I'm gonna put on my best patient voice and tell you I told you to do it and you're going to do it because I told you to do it. And that is why you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Now go do it. Thank you.
We'll get to that
Because
next.
so right. I mean that's coming too.
Yeah, that's coming.
But
Yeah,
even in this, it's like I mean I know that's kind of a joke, but
yeah.
it's but I do see that maternal
Uh-huh.
because I am.
Right.
And that's really all you need to know.
Yeah. No, that's very much.
Not even like I'm saying in a funny way, but like
Yeah.
also just like there are times when I tell my kiddo,
Mhm.
can you just believe me?
Right.
Can you literally just trust that I'm
Yeah.
your mom and I know something that you may not know or that I have your best interests at heart?
Yeah.
Just because I'm your mom, could you just do we have to have a discussion about it?
And I think that there is part of that where almost this ask of what is your name is this sort of like, can I have something, some sort of token that I can sort of
Something to grab onto,
yeah,
something to
grab
give,
onto and
something to
but also almost control. Like, can I there's a lot through most cultures that when you have the name of a
right that
divine
gives
being,
you some kind
especially,
of
that gives you
control.
this control and power.
Interesting,
I think
yeah.
that's part of it. But it's also the like, what is the thing that I call you? Because the the primary name for God up to this point in the Yahweh's tradition, which does not use the divine name until this point, is Elohim, which is just divine being or divine beings. It's like, and even our primary name for God is God, which just means divine being, right? It it's not Daemon, it's not Baal, um, which even then means Lord. So there you go. But it's not. You get Apollo, and you go, okay, I know what Apollo is. I can sort of define who Apollo is. But if your idea of who a divine being is that they are a divine being. uh, they're the one who exists. It's so nebulous. It's so immense and big, and I think that's part of it too, is that
Yeah, and God doesn't make it any smaller,
no,
which I think is
exactly.
makes it bigger.
Yeah.
Which again, I think I do think is very beautiful.
And why it's really interesting then that so the history of then this name, which is this sort of, again, in the narrative, this story, or the name is this thing that is expansive. I am who I am. Gets sort of distilled down to this name, and then out of this sort of, we'll say, respect of the commandment not to misuse the name, but also, especially in Western culture, this is definitely not something um, as much tied to Jewish culture, but in Western culture especially, the interpretation of that being, don't say goddamn,
Right.
right? Don't don't use God as a swear, when what it actually means is, do not dare do evil and pretend that it's in the name of God.
Right.
Which, like, not to get into politics, but yeah. Uh, um, bearing the name incorrectly is
Yeah.
actually the problem, not misusing the.
Literally like 40 years old before someone
Yeah.
brought that up.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah, I mean, and I know that this is a deep I am that I am, and it also is it's the answer to the life universe. It is 42. It is.
but I do like the sassy reading is good too. Yeah, like,
God's got to be tired of our shenanigans.
you want a name?
I'll give you a name.
Exist?
Yeah.
Is
Is
that
that is
does
that
that
guy's not
count?
good enough? Okay, here's the
Yeah.
next one. Yeah.
But then, yeah, thus you shall say to the Israelites, the Lord. So this sort of condensing of that, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to. Right? Again, it's
The Lord.
you
No,
could
that's not
you
enough. Okay, I'm the God of Abraham. You don't remember that guy, the God of Isaac, maybe?
right, yeah,
God
yeah.
of Jacob. Is any of this ringing a bell? Right?
But part, again, being defined by relationships,
Mhm.
not by some particular sound that signifies this
Yeah.
being. It's
And
about a much deeper.
and not by other rites or rituals either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just yeah,
Oh yeah,
interesting.
yeah, that's interesting.
Anyway, I've probably been sassy enough.
All right, so we now, the section 5 is Exodus 5:10 to 17. Um, which, if we look back where we were in, oh, I didn't have the reference there, in chapter 3. So the rest of chapter 3 and the rest of chapter 4 and some of chapter 5, Moses has been trying to come up with all sorts of reasons why
I should not
I
go.
should, it shouldn't be me. Um,
Clearly got the wrong guy.
right. And this is the whole thing about, like, what sign should I show them? Well, throw down your staff and it turns into a snake. Put your hand in your coat and he pulls it out and it's leprous. All of these sorts of things, and he keeps, like, coming up with reasons why not. Then we read. But Moses said to the Lord, "O my Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor even now that you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." Then the Lord said to him, "Who gives speech to mortals? Who makes them mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Go now, and I will be your mouth and teach you what you are to speak." But he said, "Oh, my Lord, please send someone else." The anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. And God said, "What of your brother Aaron the Levite? I know that he can speak well. Even now he is coming out to meet you. And when he sees you, his heart will be glad. You shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and will teach you what you shall do. He indeed shall speak for you to the people. He shall serve as a mouth for you, and you shall serve as God for him. Take in your hand this staff with which you shall perform the signs.
Yeah, this is gotta be okay. I'm done. We're not having this discussion anymore.
I have
I have had it.
indulged you long enough.
Yeah. You are done. Go do the thing.
Yeah.
This is the looking point.
Yeah.
This is
Absolutely.
well, it's you can almost hear it be real quiet.
Oh yeah.
How about Aaron? Remember him? He's gonna come out and meet you. He's gonna everybody's gonna do what I'm telling you to do because I said to do it.
Yeah. Very much. Very much so. Um now my take on this is, so there are some who suggest that maybe he has a literal speech impediment. That may be a possibility. I think it actually may have something to do with um, he may not be comfortable with Proto Hebrew or whatever the
Right, I
Hebrew
was
people
gonna
are speaking.
say, is there a language issue that we're
Yeah,
actually looking at
I think
here?
I suspect that may be what's going on, because part of the sale of Aaron is um, that he will speak to the people,
That's what I was gonna say.
not to
He's talking to the
Pharaoh.
people.
Like,
You're talking
you
to
can talk to
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh because,
Everybody's doing their job.
yeah, because as the story goes on, Moses is the main person who talks to Pharaoh. Um, but it may be that he's using, well, I don't speak my mother tongue.
Yeah.
I have been colonized. I speak Egyptian, and now I speak Midianite. I don't speak Israelite. I don't speak Hebrew. Um, so I can't talk to my own people. Um,
And yet, and while I see that as a valid point, a valid argument, and that
yeah, it's not
if
unsurmountable.
well, no, but if Moses had just been like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to Pharaoh and I'm gonna get the people released, the people would have been like, we don't know what he's saying, but Pharaoh's saying we can go.
Right.
We should just follow this guy.
Yeah.
Like, let's go because Pharaoh says we can go, so we're gonna go. And it's like I think he's created a problem. The God is like, fine, I will solve that problem for you. Will you
Right.
just go do it?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, absolutely.
I think that is I think that's a really intelligent take there that we're talking about a language issue because that is what came up to me this time. But in the end, it is Moses just trying another
Mhm.
way. Because really, if somebody came in, if you're a slave
Mhm.
and somebody comes in, he does a bunch of signs and wonders and gets your master to set you free, you're probably just gonna follow that guy.
I don't care what language you speak.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And frankly, you
We're
may
getting out of here.
recognize him from before.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, that guy. Yeah, okay, we know him. Um, and of course, then there's the, oh, maybe he's leading us into slavery again for him or whatever. But,
Mhm.
I do think that it's a little bit of just, if you just did the thing, there wouldn't, there wouldn't be this other problem.
Right.
But you're not willing to just confidently go and do the thing. So here's the solve. I'm
Yeah.
gonna fix the problem for you.
Which I love, in verse 13, he's finally just like, my Lord, please just send someone else. Like, I would
I
really,
just don't want to do it.
literally anyone else.
Just-
I don't
I
care.
just don't want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, and God's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is things I experience on a daily basis. I don't remember what it was today when little girls came. She goes, I just don't want to do it. And I said, I understand. You still have to do it.
Right.
Sorry. We all have to do that. Oh, it was learning the letter A. You still got to learn the letter A.
Yep. You're not going to get far without using A.
You cannot read or write until we learn the letters and the sounds. That's just life.
Yep.
There are things that you have to do. And in this case, it's a thing. But I've told you to do it, and you need to go do it. I do also love he shall serve.
Mm-hmm.
He shall serve as a mouth for you, and you shall serve as God for him. And that just tickled me because occasionally I have really wonderful directors that I work with, and they're like, "This is my stage manager," and if my stage manager talks, it's like God speaking to you. And I'm like, oh, you're my favorite. And then I get the God mic, and I'm like, yes, I am talking on the God mic, and you are listening to me.
Yeah.
Because I am God right now. But I think that's again, I think it's just God going, okay, breath. Here's what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do it. Now take your staff, get away from a mountain, and go.
Right. And part of it is this sort of like messenger sort of motif theology that is pretty common in the ancient world, where Moses is being sent as this messenger, as this um, ambassador, might be another word. And since Moses insists on it, there's now an intermediary. So God is going to speak to Moses, and Moses is going to speak to Aaron, and then Aaron's going to speak.
Yeah.
But this was pretty common in the day because communication was so challenging.
Yeah.
So the king can't go themselves. They're going to send, I'm going to send this person, and they're going to go and be the mouth of the king. They're going to represent the king. They can make negotiations. They can figure out stuff. And it literally is as if the king themselves was speaking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And as someone who is often put in that position, it is both terrifying, but mostly just a joy to have somebody that trusts you that much.
right. Yeah.
And again, like
absolutely. It's
know,
humbling, but also,
yeah.
empowering.
And I know I had kind of a different take on the Jacob story last week, but like also had Moses had the faith of Jacob, we would already be out of Egypt by now.
Right.
Right? We would be done. We had to argue for 2 chapters.
Right.
And we didn't need to create this problem. But if he could have received the gift that God was giving him
Mm-hmm.
of trust and power,
Mm-hmm.
we would be out of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be done. Sometimes we just need to shut up and receive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We just need to shut up.
Yeah.
We need to trust and receive.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we do that, then we are far more able to be a blessing
Mm-hmm.
and to do the work that God has for us
Mm-hmm.
and to go out. So yeah, I mean, I do love this story, and as a parent, it hits a little different.
Absolutely.
Because I can feel God's exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, are we still talking about this? Okay. And I put on the fake smile. Okay.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
We'll keep talking.
And it is it is a lovely, and it also is the like the reminder that God can use all of us,
Mm-hmm.
even in whatever our failings are, in
Mm-hmm.
whatever our um, and whatever other things are that we think that we are not good enough. Oh, that's part of where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
We even the most well, maybe not the most common, but because there are a lot of overly confident people, um, we often fail to see our strengths
Mm-hmm.
and to use those strengths appropriately. And if we could just get out of our own way and let God use us, how much more useful could we be? But we spend so much of our time, oh, I'm not good enough, God. Oh, I am so broken, God. Or you can't possibly use me. I am such a terrible person. I am this, I am
I can't
that.
do
I
this. I
can't
can't.
do that. Uh, Instead of, I am your child. I am worthy. I have strengths. I have, you know, I have a, I have this issue, this imposter syndrome
Yeah.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, as funny as I think some of this is, and I can, laugh and joke about it, I can also, from a completely other standpoint, feel and see Moses's complete terror
Mm-hmm.
and feeling of I can't. I must not be good enough. There is something in me that is just simply broken,
Mm-hmm.
that cannot be fixed. Even you, God, I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whether it's born of trauma, whether it's just your nature.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that feeling of, oh, but you don't know. I'm just putting on a front. I'm just putting on a face. This is not confidence. This is something to,
Mm-hmm.
this is a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I can also see that in Moses, that perhaps that argument is not just obstinance, but a real true, but God, you just must have this wrong
Yeah.
because I just must not be good enough.
Mm.
It doesn't matter that I have this education. It doesn't matter that people tell me that I am great at this. It doesn't matter, no matter how many times I work with somebody who says, you're wonderful. I can't wait to work with you again. I would do a show with you in a heart. Like, it does not
Mm-hmm.
matter how many times I hear that. It is so, I am terrified every new show I do that
Mm-hmm.
someone's going to see that I'm actually not good at this thing, that I actually am not worthy, that
Yep.
there are people that are so much better than me. Um, and so, also from that perspective, this is another invitation and reminder that those are lies.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the lies we tell ourselves.
Yep.
And that is not what God wants for us. That God doesn't want to argue with us for 3 chapters.
Right.
God just wants us to do the thing that he knows we can do.
Yeah.
Again, much like parents. We know our kids, we know what they're capable of. But how often are we Moses? And it's not an obstinance. It's a deep,
Woundedness. Yeah.
yes, it's a deep wound, it's a deep brokenness. It is an inability to see what others see in you.
Mm. I'm just thinking about how interesting of a take on Moses that just sheds some really interesting light back on this sort of unambitious he's still watching over his father-in-law's sheep after
Right.
40 years because he
Probably not because he
obviously,
couldn't go get his own flock,
right.
but because he doesn't think that he can.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean,
And I wonder, and then thinking back to the very beginning of the story.
right, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, this was a Hebrew child
Mhm.
brought up in the Pharaoh's palace, presumably knowing at least that there's something very different about
Yeah.
him. Even knowing that his mother put him in a basket to save
Uh-huh.
him, there's still rejection there.
Right. He was rejected
There's
by
still
his birth
loss. There's
family.
still
Yeah.
trauma.
He's probably
He's probably never been
treated
truly accepted at court,
absolutely. He's
you
he's
know?
treated as a non-human. He's treated like the pet of the Pharaoh's daughter,
Right.
basically. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's a really the yeah, sort of trauma informed reading of Moses.
you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. That's
I will give you my trauma. Um, yeah,
no,
well, and I
and that's
know,
not I
no,
I recognize that trauma in you and in myself.
yeah.
So,
But I
yeah,
was just like, that
but
had never occurred to me until just this sitting here and sort of joking and laughing about it.
yeah.
But then taking a step back and really seeing myself as
Mm,
as Moses.
mhm,
You know, people would send me job things frequently and be like,
mhm,
"Oh, you'd be great at this." And I wouldn't apply, not because I didn't want to work,
mhm.
but because I go, but I wouldn't. No, I couldn't. You know, I really, that's so sweet of you to think of me, but and probably I would have been fine.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
but how often do
And
we
even great.
hold? Yeah, how often do we hold ourselves back
Mhm,
because we just it's not laziness. It's not. It's trauma.
mhm.
It's a lack of really being able to see who we are,
Right.
and that if we could truly accept that we are children of God and that that is our worthiness,
Mhm,
that instead of this constant feeling of unworth, this feeling of constantly, oh, we've got to repent, we're constantly dirty, we're
mhm.
constantly, if we could, because I think that's where much of this self-imposed, um, I think our generation has a lot of
Yeah.
that, and previous generations, to be
Sort of
fair.
self-flagellation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but if we could live in the light of Christ
Mhm.
and the acceptance that we are good enough, we have been given talents, we have been given things, and not sit there and argue with God because we
Yeah.
are afraid
Yeah.
and because we genuinely don't see the good in ourselves. We genuinely
Mhm.
don't see our own beauty and our own worth and our own abilities. To the point that God says, "Okay, I'm going to give you somebody else to speak for
Right.
you. You don't have to speak in front of everybody. You just got." And also, how beautiful is that?
Mhm.
Because God then said, "Okay, I see you. I see your pain, but I'm not going to let you off the hook
Mhm.
because I know you can do it. I'm going to give you an accommodation.
Mhm.
Here's your accommodation.
Mhm.
His name is Aaron,
Yeah.
right? Here's your IEP." Um, like, actually, how beautiful is that?
Mhm.
It's funnier the other way, but like, how beautiful is
Yeah.
that God sees Moses in his pain and in his inability to see good in the abilities that he has. It says, "I'm going to take care of that for you. You just got to go. You just got to trust me."
And seeing sort of God's leadership development plan, right?
Yeah.
Is God is saying, okay, I know that you can do this thing, and he's trying to convince Moses, and he gets to the point where like I just pick somebody else,
Yeah.
and he goes, okay, you need clearly a little bit of confidence. We need to work on that one.
Yeah.
Um, going to give you a safety blanket, Aaron. And but then as we sort of see in this sort of leading into the rest of the story part is he does blossom and he
Right.
does become this great leader.
Right.
um he comes a huge way
Comes
from
into
where
his
he
own.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he needed that
Yeah.
extra little nudge. He needed the training wheels for a little bit longer,
Yeah.
and then he was able to do it.
Yeah.
um the other thing I was thinking of is part of the unwillingness to do the thing, right? um and also come from this, we have a picture of what that's going to look like,
Hmm.
and I don't have that particular skill set.
Right.
um which is that's a huge one, especially I think in church leadership. um and just thinking about in that sort of the tool of the enneagram is really be really helpful, because it's all about sort of what is your gifting and where would you flourish if you did that thing.
Right.
And part of it is to recognize that that thing over there, it's a lot sexier to be in front of the people or whatever, but that's if that's not my gifting, then this other thing is actually going to be life-giving,
Yeah.
even though it may not
Do the
feel
thing.
like it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
It's when I told my best friends that I was going to be marrying a minister, these
Yeah.
people who had known me for a very long time, my two of my best friends looked at me and were like, "You are going to be a terrible pastor's wife." And to be fair,
And
I
you
am a
are.
terrible traditional pastor's wife.
Absolutely.
I am not good at a lot of those things.
I appreciate
It's
that.
not who I am. I
Yeah.
never wanted your career to
Yeah.
be my identity.
Right.
But I love the things that I have found to do.
Yeah.
Uh, and I appreciate that you never made me feel like I had to give up my identity.
Right.
Though there were people at church who made me feel that way. In various churches, I would say. Um, and it's that same idea. I had to figure out how to be the pastor's wife that God was calling me to be,
That you need.
because
Yeah.
I was not going to be the same pastor's wife that most people think of and
Yeah.
or maybe even want, and I'm okay with that. Uh, but again, that idea of like figuring out who you are and accepting those strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if that actually ties into your story or Moses, but
That's fine. So rest of the story, spoiler alert, he goes back to Egypt and let my people go, right? And it takes a while. Pharaoh, oh baby. Um, and something that I was thinking about as we were talking about this back and forth between Moses and God, this resistance to do it, just doing the thing. We then see that's paralleled in Pharaoh,
mm-hmm.
in this sort of hardness of heart that
Yeah.
Moses had. And I wonder how much we're to read into that, this sort of, I wonder if Moses had dealt with the situation differently
Right.
had
That's
the
kind of what I
had the
was thinking
Pharaoh thing
too.
been different.
Right. If Moses had just gone and done the thing with confidence
Yeah.
and joy and acceptance of the thing that God was asking him to do, would Pharaoh have reacted differently?
Yeah.
Would that have been would we be looking at a different story?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And especially when you have these verses that say like that God hardened the heart of Pharaoh. Is that intended to be like, I'm not going to make it easy on you, because
Right, right.
you didn't make it easy on
I've
me.
got to, well, and I've got to fortify Moses for what's ahead.
Yeah.
because he's going to be dealing with these whiny people for quite a while. And they ain't going to whine a lot about stupid things.
Spoiler alert for next week.
Right. A lot. And it's got to be like, just do, like, why are we even having this conversation again? God will provide.
Right.
Let it go.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
The turns have tables. Um,
So he goes back. There's the plagues ending with the death of the firstborn, which is a clear parallel to the killing of the Hebrew babies at the beginning of the story.
right.
This is the institution of Passover. This is the point at which they finally are able to go. They get to the Red Sea. Pharaoh chases them. God opens a way where there was no way. They go across, and then Pharaoh's army is destroyed. Pharaoh and his army. Um, and
We were reading this story. I work with kindergartners, and I'm a co-teacher, or I'm the assistant teacher, and the teacher was reading the story to Gay and about the Reds, and we got to the Red Sea, and the children were just appalled that the horses died. And
right.
so they were like, well, no, horses can swim, so the horses must have been fine. It's just, I mean, this was like a whole, yeah, it was funny.
The whole thing.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. I mean, first of all, we had the babies dying to begin with, and that
Right.
was a bit.
That's
like,
tough. Yeah.
do we really have to read that? Babies. And now we're in horses dying. Great, this is going well, and dismissal is in 5 minutes.
Right. Imagine those car rides home were interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sometimes I am reminded more frequently that maybe we shouldn't have sanitized the Bible quite so much to try and make it for children. Maybe we should just pick out the stories that are actually in it. But you know, growing our faith and all of that, and learning the faith of our ancestors. And that amused me because not the horses though.
And then that sort of we foreshadow later, but that'll lead it directly into next week's text is going to be about those people now emancipated, redeemed from Egypt in the wilderness, and they run out of food. So God provides bread in manna. It's also World Communion Sunday, so that's fun. So that'll preach. We talked about.
We're just gonna talk.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah. No, I think the I don't know, back talk or the
But I don't wanna.
yeah. I mean, I think that is so fruitful, and especially
Yeah.
bringing in that sort of trauma informed side of it. I think that provides an interesting lens through which to see it. The not only that we don't want to do it because we're lazy or whatever, because that's often the way, but like this deep message that we tell ourselves that we can't.
Yeah, and I do think that yeah, again with the older kids,
Yeah.
I can bring some of that in. I think, you know, with the younger kids, it's more of like we just have to trust in God and we can do
Sure.
it. And,
Yeah.
you know, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us and all of that. But I think with the older kids, we can go a little deeper about, you know, are there times when you do yourself? Are there times when you're telling yourself lies? Are there times when, you know, you are Moses arguing not because you're lazy, but because you genuinely just don't have that belief in yourself.
Yeah.
And let's look at what Moses actually did.
You have, I mean, partially because these are Gen Alpha, but partially because they are these particular children. Like There's some high anxiety. There's a
Hmm.
lot of those messages of I'm
Yeah.
not good enough.
Yeah. I mean, this is the end, and this is the anxious generation.
Yeah.
And I think we as society have done some of that to them,
Hmm.
and I think there's
Absolutely.
a lot of reasons for it.
Yep.
Um, and I think medication can be warranted and stuff.
Hmm. Sure.
All of that, and therapy. Um,
Definitely.
but also just a reminder, the constant reminder to our kids
Hmm.
that they are enough, they are good enough. Grades do not matter.
Yep.
Um, Sports achievements do not matter. You are who you are, and you are loved because of who you are.
Hmm.
You are loved because you are a child of God, and you are just loved.
Hmm.
Um, and you have abilities, you have strengths. Uh, God can see that. Your parents can see that. Your coaches can see that.
Yep.
You have to see it too. Um, so yeah,
Several Mr. Rogers songs that could be brought in.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's you I like.
yeah,
Um, that central message that was so much a part of his ministry of just you are enough.
yeah.
Just because of who you
You
are.
are, yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I don't think that that's messaging our kids get enough of.
yes, definitely.
Um,
Because they will
and
not
I
watch
know it's
Mr.
not
Rogers.
messaging we
Good.
got
Right.
enough of.
Yeah.
And I look at the things that my kindergartners are expected to have learned in preschool,
Right.
and I'm like, I don't think I even knew that coming out of kindergarten.
Mhm.
you know, we just expect so much of our kids,
Yep.
good or bad.
Mhm.
I could go either way, but we expect a lot,
Mhm.
um, and we have to work on giving them the tools to cope.
Yeah.
And this is one of the tools that they should have in their
Mhm.
toolbox, is a reminder that they are enough.
Yeah. Because so much of that, I think so much of the anxiety and so much of that sort of like um, drive in school, particularly, is caught up in the sort of competition of capitalism,
Yeah.
and that we have to like Japan's kids are
Right.
able to do more, so we need to do more. And this sort of drive, not for people to live up to their fullest potential, but to meet quotas. And
Yeah.
ultimately, just back to this, like we need to make good consumers, we need to make good
Workers.
cogs, yeah, workers, cogs in the wheel, to make the important people lots of money. Um, and yeah, so much of it ultimately being that. Um, it's less about flourishing and more about
Surviving.
yeah, and meeting sort of artificial standards of
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
achievement.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, there's
So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know what you're going to talk about, but
yeah. Um,
I don't know if this was a depressing episode or an uplifting episode, but you're loved.
it's good. Yeah, you are loved. Thank you so much for watching or listening or whatever you are doing. Thank you for the work that you are doing, whether you're someone who does get up in front of crowds and preach sermons and try to open these scriptures, whether you're a layperson just watching and interested because you know us or because you just are interested in these stories and like a new perspective. Um, Thank you for the work that you do and for the gifts and abilities and um, just for who you are and the ministry to which God has called you.
And engage with us. Let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know how you are. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah. Somebody let us know that they had a different take on Jacob, and that's okay.
And that's fine. I think, you know. And in fact, that's kind of what I told my kiddos. I was like, I can see both takes here, and I think both takes are really important and valid. That we can see both his absolute.
Oh, not Jacob, Abraham.
Abraham. Oh yeah. Okay.
Jacob's this week.
Yeah, Jacob this week. Isaac.
In our time, Jacob is this week.
Yes. Yeah, on Abraham. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we can see. I can see both his. That this is a story of deep faith and confidence, and also other things. So yeah. But yeah, I'm interested in that. I love that.
Yeah. You can watch on YouTube, listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can listen or watch on Substack, and interact, comment, like, follow, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Thanks. Yeah. That's it.
Long enough.
Send somebody else.